You already know the key to your business having longevity is relevance. Today we're going to talk about how to stay relevant in business. With the pace of change moving faster than ever before, it's getting more and more difficult to stay relevant. Yet, there are things you can do right now to increase your relevance. Today, we're going to uncover why it's so hard to stay relevant with so much change. Learn what actions you can take immediately following this video today to increase your relevance score. Have you ever known someone who was brilliant, but they were so set in their ways, they were absolutely irrelevant? I actually know two friends like that. One person, wonderful friend, I won't say the person's name, but this is someone who always had great ideas. And I've known this person since the MySpace days. They always had these wonderful, innovative ideas. The problem is someone always innovated on their ideas at least a year before they came up with those ideas. But they were so enclosed in their own world, not really keeping up with developments, that they would come up with these ideas and they'd be like, hey, Chris, what do you think of this? And I would always have to tell them, ooh, that sounds amazing. Hey, can you go check out this website real fast and tell me what you think? And it would always be these ideas they just had. And this isn't someone that I think was being dishonest. I think that this was a wonderful creative. This person was extremely talented, but they were so busy focusing on their own ideas and not connected to the rest of the world that they were missing out on trends and signals and new developments. Another great example would be my prior car insurance agent. So my family, we've been with the same car insurance company for 3 generations now. We're pretty loyal people. And the person that I had for my car insurance is the same person that covered my mother. So I came on with her when I was 18 years old. And I remember a few years into this, I was talking to her and she was talking about how she wanted to build her book of business because she also wanted to sell off her book of business and retire in a few years. And I said to her, hey, why don't you get on Facebook? And she said to me, it's the most funny thing. She said, oh, that's a passing fad. This social media thing's a waste of time. And I said, no, it'll allow people to get to know you better and it'll be easier for people to refer you. And she was like, nope, I'm too old for that. I'm not interested in it. She didn't really have much of a growth mindset. Now, here's what's interesting. On social media, I'm positive you've seen people that come on there, especially Facebook in this example, that come on there, they complain about this or that and say, does anyone have a recommendation for this thing? So I would see people asking all the time for recommendations to good insurance carriers or insurance brokers. And for me, because she wasn't on Facebook, I wasn't going to go into my email or go find her card and take a picture and post it. If she didn't care enough to be there, I wasn't going to waste my precious time. But I actually did make a lot of recommendations and get business for someone else. And that was my realtor at the time because she actually also owned an insurance agency. And she was there. I could easily tag her and send people to her. So it's fascinating that for insurance, I was sending people to my realtor because my actual insurance broker didn't see the value. She wasn't keeping up, and so she lost opportunities for business. Gone are the days of set it and forget it. Once upon a time, if you think about Coca-Cola, probably for the first 70, maybe even more years of its existence, it really didn't have a lot of variety in what it was offering. Now, if you look at Coca-Cola's business structure, it's a whole maze of things, right? And they've had to have different types of offering. They have foods. They have all kinds of other types of partnerships, even outside of that category. They've had to grow and adapt with the times. That's the reason that company has been able to stay relevant. Well, we're living in a time where all of us have to do that, no matter the size of our organization. And so then the question becomes, if we're all looking around and we know that the world is changing rapidly, we're seeing these companies that we've known for generations making shifts and major moves, why is it so many of us have a hard time adapting within our own organizations? And that's because fear keeps us stuck. The biggest challenge to us staying relevant is not the world moving too fast. It's our inability to be open to the possibility that we can actually survive in this new world and adapt. And so what happens is, and I'm sure you've seen people like this, maybe we've done it ourselves sometimes, there's no judgment, that when something new is offered, they kind of get stoved up and say, no, this is stupid or that's sillier. They don't even consider the option because it's fear-based. They're used to a certain thing. And sometimes fear is wrapped up in a chocolate coating of anger. Right? And so oftentimes that's what we're really encountering. We want to make sure we recognize that in ourselves. We know that there's a biological issue where our ancestors recognized change as danger. And that was important because, for instance, grapes and another berry called moonseed that will kill you look very similar, right? And so it's a good thing that our ancestors were able to distinguish and see little changes as dangers. The difference between a coral snake and a scarlet king snake, they look somewhat similar, but that little change is the difference between something being harmless and something being deadly. And so we have to get over that fear that's been programmed into us, because now we live in a world that's changing much more rapidly than that of our ancestors. And so while we're grateful that they were able to recognize change as danger, right now, that thinking is actually dangerous for us. We have to have a growth mindset if we're going to stay relevant. Another example that I've seen personally when it comes to staying relevant is when the pandemic hit. I'm a keynote speaker. All the keynote speakers I know, our calendars cleared because people weren't having in-person meetings. And so what happened was a good portion of the industry moved to doing virtual presentations. And many of our businesses even grew during that time. However, there was a decent population of people that said, oh, I'm not doing this. I don't like virtual. I don't need to do that stuff. I'm going to wait until the pandemic's over. Well, when the pandemic was over, they had lost the attention and the authority they used to have from their clients who had hired other people that were helping them through their meetings. Furthermore, some of these people haven't updated their materials to reflect more current offerings based on the times that we live in. And so there's certain topics that people were looking for in 2018, they're just not looking for now. And so many of them have completely clear calendars because they didn't choose to adapt at the time. And there's no judgment. I'm just sharing examples. So we want to make sure that we're staying relevant by being open and having those growth mindsets. If you want to understand why we can't just coast and rest on our laurels, watch my video on why being innovative is so important to a business. So now I'm going to give you 3 actions for getting relevant information so that you maintain your relevance. Action number 1, take polls. Poll your clients, poll your prospects, poll your employees, poll your business partners. You want as much data as you can to see what it is people are needing, what are they missing. You want to leave open-ended, juicy questions so that you can see the possibilities and the trends that are happening. Number 2, follow industry news. Make sure that you're up to date on what's going on in your industry. It doesn't have to be something that takes hours a day. Oftentimes you can get different periodicals and blogs delivered right to your inbox where you can scan them very quickly just to see what's going on. Another thing that you can do is follow other industries' news. So look for an industry that's more innovative than your own. No judgment on your industry, but we all have industries that tend to adopt technology faster than us. Follow some of those as well so that you can see what's happening in those industries. The last thing you can do to stay relevant is using the data you've collected, start to remove points of friction. So within your organization, maybe you're starting to see that people are saying something's a particular problem, or it would be easier to work with you if you had this, or if you remove that. Understand that relevancy and even being innovative does not automatically mean more technology. There are times where it actually means less technology. I'm willing to bet there's times where you've called into a company and you wanted to speak to an actual human, but instead you were met with some type of automated bot. Keep in mind, again, there are times where being relevant is answering the call of customer experience, and sometimes it's removing technology. But whatever those friction points are, whether that's for your business or even you in your career, look for ways to remove that. That's what's going to keep you relevant. That's even what's going to inform you on what your newest offering should be or what courses you should take to stay relevant as an individual. Look at the data, look at the information, and make sure that you're staying on top of it to the best of your ability. You're not always going to be up to date on all the very latest information, but we do want to make sure that you're not someone whose business or career dries up because you're waiting for things to go back to normal, whatever that is. It's never going back. Since we know things are never going back to that old normal, I want to give you a gift to help you stay relevant going forward. I have a Future Ready workbook that's chock full of activities and worksheets that will help you get into the mindset to be successful going forward so that you're staying innovative and, most importantly, relevant. To get your copy today, go in the description and click on the link.